Hey, and welcome back to another Smack Sound recording. This is a brief tutorial on sidechain compression within Pro Tools and how to get that pumping effect. You hear it in a lot of electronic music, but I'm going to be using it here for voiceover to sort of massage the mix a little bit, bring the music down periodically. You still need to mix the right levels, but this is going to be sending a little bit of side chain compression to the music bed to allow the vocals to sit in the mix a little bit more. So here I have a record track. I've got an input only track here armed with a little bit of compression already on the voiceover, as you can see there. A little bit rolling off the low end to about 80 hertz with a high pass, and then a little bit of compression, very light, -10 threshold, 2-to-1 ratio, a little bit of boost on the makeup, and then the attack is pretty quick at 2, and then the release is 160, so it's about medium. Just a nice soft knee there. So let's go ahead, first of all, and record our vocal track. So the vocals are running in here to this first audio track and then being bussed down to this one to record. And here we go. By the way, I'm recording on a Sennheiser 416 into Pro Tools, directly into Pro Tools. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have our voiceover track. This is the copy. Let's say it is a New Year's Eve spot because the New Year's Eve music that I have positioned down here is ready to go. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Welcome to the New Year's Eve spot, your location for the greatest New Year's Eve party ever from your bathroom in 2020, given COVID. And we stop there and put I like to drag my vocal. I like to have a track here for the vocal coming in. That's totally not necessary. I like to have the audio track set up separately, and I'm monitoring through a mixing board, so I'm not actually monitoring through the system audio. It's the vocal is going into a mixing board, and then the Pro Tools monitor is coming out of 2 other channels on the board. So recorded here, pulled down to my edit track. I've got here, I'll go ahead and label that real quick. This is my music track, and I've got a master bus, or rather a master track, master fader down here, with a little bit of limiting on it, just a little bit. So we've got our track, our vocal track here, and yes, my outputs are set. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have our voiceover track. This is the copy. Let's say that's the track I just recorded. Let's move our audio track into place, zooming in, the ever reliable T and R for tight and reverse to zoom in and out. So, okay, I'm going to bypass the compressor I have on there right now. You do that with command, and then click on the plug-in. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my limiter here too. We'll just get a nice clean sound. So here's playback on that without compression and without sidechain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have our voiceover track. This is the copy. Let's say it is. So the music is overwhelming the voiceover track here. So what we do first, first let's go ahead. I was going to go straight to the bus. First, let's instantiate the compressor on our music track. So you're sidechaining, which is sending a signal from another track to a plug-in instantiated on another track. So you're sending this signal down to this one here. And that's the pumping reference earlier in electronic music. You know, when you hear the kick drum and then you hear that compressor open back up to release it. So the kick drum goes, terrible impression notwithstanding. So we've got our compressor standing by over here. Command click to activate it, and then let's go to our compressor. This is just the standard dynamic compressor on board in Pro Tools here, the DYN3 compressor limiter. So here it is, instantiated. I've got a soft knee on it. It's squashing it pretty good. My makeup gain is at 3.5. All that's kind of irrelevant. You want to have a nice liberal threshold so it grabs it, and then you can sort of massage your levels and your compressor settings from there. The release is kind of soft. It will release, so that's so you don't hear it jumping back up. You don't want it too obvious, but you want the signal being sent to kind of get out of the way, or you want the signal being sent to come down to the music track and have the music get out of the way for the vocal, which is going to sit down in there. So now that I have this compressor instantiated on the track, I want to go to my key input, and that is going to be bus 2. So bus 2 is being sent from above in the from the vocal track. So I've got bus 2 right here selected. I just sort of put it at unity. It'll come all the way down, and option click on the fader jumps it right up to unity gain. So it's sending everything from this track. You can blend that if you'd like, but we're just sending everything from this track down to the music track. So now bus 2 is coming into your key input on the compressor, and you need to activate that here. You're not going to get your sidechain feed if you don't activate that key right here. So you've got your compressor being active, and it's going to be compressing. It's down here on the music track, but it's going to be compressing this vocal track here. So it's going to cause the compressor to get out of the way of the vocal track. And here is playback, and you'll see the in signal of the vocals coming in here. So keep an eye on that as I hit play, which is spacebar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have our voiceover track. This is the copy. Let's say it is a New Year. You hear that? You hear it kind of getting out of the way. And this is a crude example. You would want to kind of massage and make sure your mix is nice and even. But it's getting out of the way. And I'll play with the compressor controls here while this vocal signal is squashing the compressor here. So I'm not going to talk on the mic. What you're going to be hearing here, I'll loop this. Command 1 to make sure your controls are present, and I've got my loop playback enacted. So if this happens to start over, you'll see that and hear that. So here's playback on that, and I'm going to mess with the controls so you can see how that works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have our voiceover track. This is the copy. Let's say it is a New Year's Eve spot, because the New Year's Eve music that I have positioned down here is ready to go. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Welcome to the new. What I'm doing there, obviously, is affecting the gain. So the gain is going to be bringing the signal up and down of the music according to how much vocal is going into this track. So here it is again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have our voiceover track. This is the copy. Let's say it is a New Year's Eve spot, because the New Year's Eve music that I have positioned down here. So as the vocal goes along, the spaces you hear are this compressed track, and I've got the gain way up, jumping back up into place. It's pretty self-explanatory, but you can massage it, lowering your threshold to get a very subtle effect that hopefully is not that noticeable in the end spot. So let's massage this just a little bit and get a little bit more subtle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have our voiceover track. This is the copy. Let's say it is a New Year's Eve spot, because the New Year's Eve music that I have positioned down here is ready to go. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Welcome to the New Year's Eve spot, your location for the greatest New Year's Eve party ever from your bathroom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have our voiceover track. This is the copy. Let's say it is a New Year's Eve spot, because the New Year's Eve music that I have positioned. So you can kind of hear it's massaged. Very little gain. I raised the threshold, so not as much of the signal is going into the compressor down here. I lowered the ratio. You could go often with this kind of thing just for a little touch of sidechain compression in voiceover and post-production mixing. The ratio is very low, maybe even 1.5, 2, maybe 3. I mean, you could raise it as high as you want and play with it. I like a nice soft knee, so I raise that up to, in this case, 30 dB, or down, I should say. So anyway, you get the idea. The release, I opened that up. The attack is slower. Now, if you jam these all the way back to really fast, position down here is ready to go. It gets really harsh, especially if you raise the gain, and play with it, experiment with it. It's all how you want it to sound, how you think it sounds good. Oh, I didn't turn my limiter back on. The limiter is just for the final mix. This is a really cool limiter. I really like it. It's in the Avid store, and it's great for setting LUFs, broadcast loudness units versus, say, online or personal corporate use, et cetera, et cetera. It's really great for here. I'll show you that real quick, and then let you go. The input, you affect the input, and you're looking over here at your integrated LUFs here versus short-term, true peak. A lot of the specs that you'll get from broadcast want a true peak consistent with around -2, and the broadcast loudness output is usually around -19. So crudely put here, and this is really slamming the input, but you can get a nice raise your output there, so you can see it being affected here. Start to stabilize a little bit. 19. Raise it up just a tad. Affect the input a little bit. Soften that just a little bit. Yeah, it's starting to stabilize nicely now. And you keep messing with it until you hit your true peak versus your output. So anyway, that's a bit of digression, but there is Sidechain using vocals in post-production mixing. Hope you found something useful. Do please subscribe and offer feedback, and have a fabulous day. Thanks. Signing off.